I wanted to continue the conversation about healing and what can hold us back from healing. We've talked about the fact um, that we may not know that we're holding on to something that needs to come out. We may not just want to feel it. We just don't want to let it out because it's not a pretty process to feel these things that we've been suppressing and holding back. Um, Somebody asked me a question today. What if the shame is too big and the ego won't get out of the way so that you can even let it out? And I want to reassure you that there is nothing that is too big to get out. It's going to come out in small increments, but it will come out. And remember, when your ego is talking to you, it's just a story. None of it's true. We need to be able to step back and observe the story that it's trying to tell us, realize that it's not true. It'll say, you're not worthy of love, which really, that's what shame is kind of an internalizing of guilt, maybe that you feel guilty for something that happened or the way things went down or whatever situation. And instead of feeling just guilt for that thing or a thing, you just have this internalized, like, general shame that runs through you, and you feel like you're broken and you're not good enough. And so many of us feel that way. And then we try to drink to cover it up, or whatever you do to try to cover it up. And then we end up accumulating more shame. It's almost like we're reaffirming, like, oh, look, I am a piece of crap because I was drunk all the time, or I didn't show up for so-and-so and I didn't do this. And so now you're just in this looping story. So when those feelings come up, you have to be able to just observe them. That's why I always say observe and don't judge. It's a process. It's hard to, I will say that that's when my life changed, is when I realized that those stories that I was telling myself, that my mind was telling me, they're not true. That's not who I am. I'm not like a series of events or, things that happened to me, or things that I did. I am a soul, and I'm a beautiful soul underneath, and I deserve love. And when you realize that, that's what changes everything, because then you start to show up for yourself and do things to nurture yourself. But if you sit down to try to, let the emotion out, and it's so big that you think, oh, I can't even do this, and you just give up, then that's where you're going to stay stuck. But if you're aware of the things that might come up, you can recognize them and say, oh, okay, I'm avoiding feeling this. I am afraid to even try to let it out because it's too big. I don't even deserve love or forgiveness. That's your ego telling you stories in your mind. It's not true. There was one other thing. When it comes to forgiving yourself, you have to give yourself grace. Like, there's just no way around this. You have to be able to face the story that, you don't deserve love or forgiveness, and just recognize it as untrue. And when you think about, how could I do that? Because, if you truly believe that you're a piece of crap, then you don't want to forgive yourself because you think you're a piece of crap. It's that cycle. You have to switch your perspective. and give yourself the same grace that you would give your child or your best friend if they came to you and said, look, I'm really struggling, and here's how things went down, or here's what's going on in my life right now, and here's why I feel like I'm worthless. You wouldn't say to them, yeah, you're right, you are a piece of crap, and it doesn't matter what happened to you, and I don't care what brought this on, you're just a piece of crap. You would never do it. We do it to ourselves all the time. So if you switch your perspective and recognize the fact that you do deserve grace, and even if you can't grant it to yourself, pretend you're doing it from an outside perspective or giving it to a friend or, a child. Recognizing that it's a story and it's not true. You can just let the emotions go. You don't have to hold on to them. Ask yourself, what would it feel like if I let these go? If I let this shame go, what would that feel like? And what would happen? A lot of times, I know we use terms like guilt and shame interchangeably. They're not really the same, but guilt can bring on shame. So if we hang on to the guilt or the shame, we're not healing anyone. Healing can only come from love. And I said in last night's video, you've been criticizing yourself for years, decades maybe. It's gotten you nowhere, and it's not helping anyone. So try out love. Love yourself. Show up for yourself. Give yourself grace. And just let it go. I know it sounds simplistic, but you have to be able to face that story and just say, there's no point in me hanging on to this. No, I'm not going to do it anymore because it's not helping me. It's not helping anyone. If you think about the people that you really want to show up for, whether it's your kids or your spouse or whoever, your other family, your friends, what version of you do they deserve? If you're doing this just for someone else right now, what version of you do they deserve? They deserve the healed, loved version of you. And the only way that you can give out love is to fill your own cup first and then give away the overflow. So I want you to start loving yourself, even if you only do it for everyone else. And it feels selfish at first. You're like, oh, I shouldn't be paying as much attention to myself, or I shouldn't even care how I feel. I should only worry about other people, right? But you have to start to love yourself so that you can love everyone else, and you can show up for them in the way that you want to. And I guess that goes back to, pretending you're your loved one or your, child or whatever. But have you ever forgiven someone else? Talk yourself through that. Like, yeah, I was able to forgive someone else because here was my thought process. Apply it to yourself. It's the same thing. We are all doing the best we can. And there's going to be different versions of us that are capable of doing better things than they were in the past. The fact that, we might have guilt for something in the past or shame for, something that we did. The fact that you even recognize that it's not how you wanted to act means there's a different version of you looking at that time now, right? Like, oh my God, I would never do that. I can't believe I did that. This is a new version of you, but you're punishing the new version of you for something that the old version of you did for whatever reason. So yeah, just to recap, I want you to recognize that you're a soul, bottom line. This is your mind trying to tell you stories. The way that we think and the stories that have built up around us are built by our past, things that have happened to us in the past. And then, we have these filters that are put in place that later on something else can trigger an overreaction based on that filter. Like, to me, it's almost like you give a kid a gun, like a little kid, you say, oh, that person hurt you. And if anything like that ever happens again, shoot them. It's like a complete overreaction to something that might just seem the slightest bit similar. We can go into triggers later on. Those are actually valuable tools so you know where you need to heal. But so we have these triggers, and then we can react in ways that we're not proud of. Like, oh, why did I act like that? Because you have this little mechanism in place that's supposed to protect you. But ultimately it can end up harming us. So I lost my train of thought. Not a shocker. But we have these things in place that can cause us to act in certain ways, and then it just all kind of builds up. But I want you to be able to recognize that for what it is. It's just a story that's been built on this framework, and you can let it all go. All of it. And I wanted to touch on something just to reiterate, like, why I'm here. I am not here because I ever wanted to be on the internet. I am not here because I wanted any attention ever. Like, this is the last thing that I ever thought I would be doing. I am here because I was where you are a few years ago. And it's confusing. It can be overwhelming. And it's just, it's not a fun place to be. I know it's not. But if you have someone who will, quote unquote, shine their light for you, like I had for me, I went out searching for answers. Like, what is going on with me? Like, what's happening right now? So for 4 years, I've been, trying to figure out, like, what's happening with me and what's going on. And, and I'm learning that I'm healing, and this is the process. And, so I've been through it so many times. I want to just be able to help some other people that are on this path now too. And I guarantee you, I regret to inform you, there's no going back. Once you've kind of woken up to the fact that, things aren't the way they should be, really the only way out is up or through, however you want to see it. But that's why I'm here. I'm not here because, I am a counselor or a therapist. I'm not here because I want to be an influencer or have a side hustle or anything like that. I have a career. I thought I would just be doing that for the rest of my life. And wow, was I wrong. I mean, I'm still doing it, but, I thought my life was just going to be, I work that job and then I retire and then, hang out with the grandkids and that's it. So, but yeah, plot twist. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with you. Like, I'm only here because my heart goes out to you, and I am grateful for the people who shined their light for me. And I would like to do the same for you. So however I can help you, please let me know. You can reach out to me. I don't know. I guess you can't reach out to me on here. I have a website. You can email me from there. I'm on Instagram. I'm on TikTok. I'm everywhere. But all right, if there's something that I can do that would be helpful for you in your healing, please let me know. Thank you for asking questions when you do. It's helpful for me to know where to go next. And that's it. I hope you had a great weekend, and I'm sending you love. I'm rooting for you. Hang in there. It's not an easy path, but we don't really have a choice. So let's get through it together, okay? All right. Take care. Go do main character stuff.